What's going on YouTube? It's your host with the most. You already know who it is. It's your boy Kensu, back again. Brand new video. We're gonna talk about Jacko today. Now, a lot of you guys know I've been playing Jacko pretty exclusively ever since she's dropped. And one question that comes up in the stream a lot of the times when I'm streaming and playing her is like, do you have any kind of starter tips or any kind of beginner, help or anything like that to try to kind of get someone like, from beginner to at least understanding Jacko to some extent? Well, that's what I intend to do here in this video, is to kind of give you guys a basic overview of Jacko and like kind of the things you should be doing. Not too in depth here, just something kind of quick and dirty just to try to get you guys on the right path to picking her up. I think a lot of people will end up having a lot more fun understanding how she works. She does take a lot of time, I'll tell you this right now. Quick disclaimer about Jacko: she is a very difficult character. She is not a pick up and play character like at all. She's just not that kind of character, right? But with that being said, my goal here now is to help you guys kickstart your Jacko learning experience and learn a little bit faster so you can get on your way to playing her on a somewhat decent level and understand kind of how she works. But before I get into it, you guys know what time it is. Don't forget, a lot of you guys watching the videos aren't actually subscribed, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with anything and everything on this channel. So without all the housekeeping things and this little intro out the way, let's get to learning Guilty Gear Strive's brand new character, Jacko. Alright you guys, so here we are in the training room and do a live, gotta do a live demonstration here. I think this is gonna be the best way for you guys to learn. So, Jacko, right? Where do we start? Let's start with her normals and things you should kind of know about her normals and the things that you will be using more often than not, so you're not kind of lost here, right? So starting out with her normals, to start with her ground normals. So let's start with her standing punch. Standing punch is pretty standard. Standing punch, it is 5 frames. It's pretty fast. It's a good little poke out tool. Only downside to this button is it does not hit crouchers unless you're fighting like Potemkin or Nagaryuki or even Gold Lewis for that matter. You can't really utilize her 5P like that on the average character. Her crouching punch, I believe is like 6 frames or so. It's a pretty good, get off me button. Pretty standard for most characters. It being like a 6 framer isn't very good. You end up kind of like in a Zato position where you don't really have a way to kind of poke out of some character's pressure. So you will have to rely on YRC on defense, but we'll get into that later. So it's pretty standard. It does what it's supposed to do, generally speaking. But moving on to her better normals, her kick normals. So standing kick, this is pretty much the party starter. This is the button that gets things started. It is jump cancelable on hit and block, so you will be utilizing this normal a lot. In addition, her crouching kick, pretty long range low. This is like 7 frames or so, pretty fast, and it does hit from a good range. The neat thing about both of these normals between standing kick and crouching kick is they both go into crouching dust. This is your standard hit confirm with her, so you will be going into this quite a lot. So get used to using this, as it is a very big and vital part of her game. Her far slash, I do want to talk about here very briefly. It is only so good in this game. It does have a lot of range, especially with the chain and ball actually hitting here at this point. You can see it does have a lot of range. It's a really strong normal. It does hit from afar. It is pretty solid. It does what it's supposed to do. However, what I will say is this normal is primarily at its strongest when you have minions on the screen, because it lets Jacko do other things that's not just throwing this normal out. Unfortunately, in this game, she cannot do her far slash into her crouching dust like she could in Xrd. So this kind of makes this normal a little bit harder to use, but as I mentioned before, it's absolutely at its best when utilized with minions. Okay. Her crouching slash is a very strong anti-air. It is very, 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 very vertical. It hardly has any kind of horizontal box, and it's really good for characters who like to cross you up on air dashes or do somewhat of predictable jumps. Luckily, Jacko's air mobility, luckily for Jacko, her grounded mobility isn't too slow. So you can run underneath characters and try to use your 2S to try to anti-air them. It's pretty solid against anti-airs. As you can see, it does stagger them in the air. And you can get damage such as that on characters who jump at you. pretty solid. It's not the worst, but not the best. It's a very situational anti-air, so you gotta pick and choose your battles for this normal. So keep in mind, it does have pretty long recovery, so use it at your discretion. Be sure to, again, use your best judgment on when to use this normal. Let's talk about her H normals, her stand heavy. This is more of a combo filler. It can be used as a whiff punish. It is not the fastest normal, but it's not the slowest normal either. I think it's really great when you have minions out on the screen because it allows you to kind of fling minions at your opponent without having to actually throw them or soccer ball kick them, if you will. So it does have that use. That aside, coming to her crouching heavy slash, this normal is pretty good, mostly in strings, not so much on its own. It does have uses on its own, and that's more so with minions, which I will point out here that some of the normals that aren't good for pressuring per se, they're pretty much better off when you're utilizing minions because it helps you bounce minions in a specific way to kind of open up different kind of pressure, which we'll get into soon. But with that being said, her crouching heavy slash is good in the sense that it is good for her far slash into crouching heavy slash. It is a natural frame trap, so it essentially makes this button a little bit better to go for. No, if you do it from max range, it will not connect. It will Gatling, but it will not connect. However, if you have a minion there, different story, right? So placing your minions in a specific spot does help out for utilizing this gap, just so you guys know. But when you use it when you're running, and you do keep when you use it while running, you do keep your run momentum, which will allow this normal to hit from this range. So be sure to, if you do decide to go for it, using it from far slash, make sure you are running and using it instead of just trying to go for it on its own. It's not the best on its own. So that is crouching heavy slash. I did mention her crouching dust. I'll be honest with you, this is one of her best normals, like hands down. It leads to a lot of counter hit confirms. It is by far one of her best normals, bar none. Should you use this normal a good bit? Honestly, yes. Use it at your discretion. It is special cancelable into minion or soccer ball kick. So, and or, you know, if you have a minion out, you can always do a minion attack as well to try to make your sweep safe. Because the biggest thing is keeping the sweep safe. And when you open up these doors with having minions and stuff like that, there's a little bit of a mind game there when you are using crouching dust to like set people up and make them kind of guess wrong, if you will. So keep that in mind while covering your crouching dust. Next, I want to cover her jumping normals. Her jumping punch is a great air to air. So if enemies are jumping on you, you can't intercept them with this. It's not necessarily about the damage, it's just about being able to get something off of them and try to intercept them and not let them jump around for free. Her jumping kick is a decent air to air, but it's very limited in use. It's more so against specific characters. I would say like Naga Ryuki, maybe Potemkin, Go Lewis to some extent. You know, characters like more so the big bodies is pretty good because you can still air dash cancel off of it and whatnot. So it's all right. It also does cancel into jumping dust as well, but not too much there, to be honest with you. Jumping punch is still the best go-to. If you're jumping at your opponent, jumping slash is by far leaps and bounds one of her best. It does cross up when you do air dash. So learning how to use this normal from the range where it will cross up is very important. And also utilizing it when jumping in is also important because the chaining ball portion can hit. It's probably the overall, I would say, your most important jump in, and the jump in you use pretty often. Jumping heavy slash, this is just as good as jump slash, with the exception of this move does not really hit downwards, but it does have a great box for crossing up. So it is phenomenal for crossing up the opponent, and it does hit twice, so it is pretty good in that regard. And essentially it's one of her major go-tos whenever getting knocked down. So for example, we go for that minion setup, and then we go for that, and that'd be like your standard Oki. Let me turn Soul off of guard. We can take a look at that again. So for your standard Oki, you can kind of go for this, right? And you pretty much get a generic, you know, knockdown situation, if you will. So it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It does set up quite a lot for you as Jacko, so it's something you do want to keep in mind when you do want to set up mix-up potential from a standard 2D into minion set. Okay, so we've covered her ground normals, we've covered her air normals. We're kind of on the right track here. So now I want to quickly kind of go over her special moves. I know some of you guys have seen the starter guide that Arxis has put out here, but I think it's kind of important just to quickly overview it really quickly. So you do have her quarter circle forward kick. This is really good for combos, really good for pressure, and it also on hit you can cancel it into minion set, which is also quarter circle forward punch. And minion set does have two ways you can actually set minion. So quarter circle forward just sets them down right in front of you. Quarter circle forward punch hold will put the minion over her head. At this point, Jacko can still walk around with the minion. She can still run, you know, forward dash and back dash. So your back dash turns into a back run, so forth and so forth. You still have access to your double jump, super jumps, your air dashes, the whole nine. And when you hold forward and press an attack button, exception to dust, you will throw the minion. You can also press the dust button and she will drop the minion. And learning how to utilize this is pretty important because it does change, you know, the ranges in which your minions are at. It does change some of the trajectories in which you would launch the minion, you know, barring where you drop them or throw them. This is very important to know. So moving forward, we also have the minion options, which is all quarter circle forward. So once you drop the minion, you know, you have a plethora of options, right? If you do quarter circle back punch, you'll unsummon the minion back down. If you do 2 and 4K or a quarter circle back kick, the minion will do an attack. Quarter circle back slash, minion shield, and quarter circle back heavy slash will be minion bomb. Now the biggest thing about minions is that you can also punt the minions towards your opponent, which is really huge. Now you can use the punt or soccer ball kick off the minion in different ways. So what I mean by that is when you put a minion out and you kick it, you are actually allowed to cancel it into any of the minion options. So it could be minion attack, soccer ball kick, minion shield, and so forth and so forth. You can even unsummon to throw them off. So it works really well in your favor when you're trying to like bait some things out from your opponent. So keep that in mind. This is a great way to approach using your minions. So with that being said, there's also when you do minion and you hold the minion, you still get access to the same options as you would if they were grounded. So when you're holding the minion and you press the kick button while holding the minion, it will do the attack, shield, and then bomb minion in the same. So you still have access to those same options. It's just you're already holding the minion overhead, so it's just a matter of just pressing the button to do the corresponding action that you want it to do. There are a plethora of reasons why you would do this. Some of it is for combos, some of it is for neutral. I won't get into them because there's too much to cover, because Jacko is a very complex character and I'm trying to make this as simple as possible for you guys, make it as very digestible as I can. So with that being said, that pretty much covers the minions in itself, right? I'll also mention that when you have the minions on the screen, you do have access to doing the minion actions while you're in the air as well. So any kind of minion command you want to do, these all can be done while in the air. And it offers up some other more unique scenarios in which opens up more creative pressure and more combos for her, right? So we've covered that. It's a lot to take in, you guys. Now we're going to go on to something I think that is also very important, which is her anti-airs. I did talk about her crouching slash as anti-air. Also want to talk about her forward punch as anti-air as well. It is a standard forward punch. You should be using this as anti-air just as much as crouching slash. Just know that it is most likely the one you'll be going to the most between the two, so keep it in mind. It's pretty standard, it gets the job done. You can get combos off of it, barring where the minions are, barring if you have meter for her super, the whole nine. So keep in mind her forward punch is very important too for your anti-air game alongside her crouching slash. So we've talked about her normals, her specials, for the most part. Now I think it's time to go into the thing that a lot of people want to understand, and it is minion control. Minion control is very, 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 very difficult. There is a general way you do want to use them. There are some rules in which you do want to learn to follow. So I'm going to cover those things right now for you guys so you can understand exactly what you should be doing with your minions. Keep in mind this is also from a beginner's perspective, so you guys can get on your way. So when you have space, and I showed you guys earlier, when you use minion soccer ball kick, you can set them in the place you want them to be. Keep in mind you can also use your normals to hit them, and they go in different areas. When you have more than one minion, you can kick them into the other one. So you can kind of play this ping pong kind of game with your minions, which is pretty unique. But there is one more thing about minions and minion control you should understand. Not just hitting the minions in the places you want them to be, but understand there's one major thing about these minions and the minion hits that makes Jacko extremely unique. So when Jacko has a minion out on the screen and you use a normal to hit it, say you hit 5k, you are allowed to jump cancel as if you made contact with your enemy. This is very unique to Jacko, and it helps open up her pressure. It helps open up all kinds of creative opportunities for the character. Keep in mind also, even if you do hit that does count as hit state, right? So that means if I do minion set, right, we're gonna use 5H and we're gonna cancel into minion unsummon, right? So it still counts as you actually making contact with your enemy. Okay, so we can still go into soccer ball kick or to another minion set. And you see, we just opened up a whole new way to attack the enemy, right? Now granted, on one front it seems like it may or may not be a waste, but you have to understand this is all situational. A big thing about Jacko and a big thing to understand about Jacko is she's a very, very, very situational character. Everything is based on the temperament of your opponents, and you have to make decisions based on them and your minions, right? Sometimes it's best to not even do anything with the minions and just let them try to attack and kill the minions, and you can go for like minion shield or something like that, which, in the Arxis demo, they did show that if you do, if they happen to press a button on the minion shield, you do get her command grab super guaranteed. It is a scaled version of the super, but it's really strong, especially against the wall, because the wall break damage gives you, extra damage on top of a hard knockdown, which is great for Jacko. So just keep that in mind. Don't really need to show you guys that, just know that it works. Who am I kidding? I'm just going to show you guys because you should see and you should know that it does work. You can see Soul reeled back from the shield. Boom. Snatched up. Bam. Boom pow. Great damage for Jacko. Hard knockdown situation. Positive bonus. This is a really good situation for Jacko, so keep that in mind. So, we know that that's a thing. So, as I mentioned before, when you are punting minions, you can always cancel into any of the actions you want for the minions as you choose, right? In addition to that, when we were talking about hitting minions with normals, when you use your jump normals, like jump slash, you can air dash cancel off of it. So this opens up even more creativity with the character and how the normals interact with minions. So this is something you may have to experiment with. Even I'm still working on it. Nothing's set in stone. But I do have matches on my YouTube here where you guys can kind of see where I'm utilizing the minions and like changing up how I attack with them and changing up all that good stuff. So as I mentioned before, situational character. Situational. Can't stress enough, you guys. Situational. Moving forward, knowing how to utilize your minions is very important, and knowing where they go when you hit them is a very important part of Jacko. So as I mentioned before, her far slash turns into something a lot stronger with minions because you can do stuff like that, right? The minion is going to come back towards you. You can soccer ball punt them back, right? And we can do that and utilize that. And we got easy damage. That's 109 damage, right? So this can also be used in pressure, or you can even unsummon and then continue pressuring them. You see, so it all just depends on what you want out of Jacko during the situation. Now I could get into more of this, but there's so much to cover that I don't think I can cover it all in this video. And plus I don't want to make this video too long. I think this is a pretty decent starting point for you guys to kind of get your feet wet. So we're going to come out the training room and we're going to close this out and do a quick overview, okay? And we're back for the overview. So that's pretty much kind of like Jacko in a basic sense. There are more things regarding minion control that I intend to show you guys as I go, but I wanted to get you guys feet wet so you kind of know where to start, where to begin, and so forth and so forth. Now I know that there are no combos here, and that's because there's plenty of other Jackal combo videos out there that you guys can go check out. I may make some on my own, barring how I feel, but that being said, I think this is a pretty decent starting point for you guys. So this is kind of a decent starting point. I'll be adding more to this, so it'll probably end up being like a series of videos just kind of covering Jackal and things you can do. So be on the lookout for that. It's gonna take some time, but bear with me, you guys. I'm moving as fast as I can to get this content to you guys as quick as I can. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. If there's anything that you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments below. I have no problem making videos on the things that you guys mentioned for me. So let me know in the comments. Let me know how you feel. Is Jackal too hard for you? You need more of a primer? If you do, let me know. I'm trying to know. I'm trying to help you out. Right? Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. You guys take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Kensou signing off. Peace.